Hello and welcome back to Rosie's Preserving School, and we're going to do the sweet version of a banana preserve. We did banana chutney, either in the winter season or the one at Christmas, I can't remember which, and this is the sweet version. So naturally enough, it's got bananas. It hasn't got very much else in it. It's got some spices and some sugar and things, and it's not an on the shelf keeping forever preserve. It's just a nice to have for, it's a quick dessert, really. If you've got a jar of this in the fridge, and maybe some of those, dare I say it, packet meringues, those sort of nests, you can easily make up sort of a quick pudding with them, or you can spread it on scones or crumpets, that kind of thing. So, or a big pavlova would be good with some pineapple. So it's handy to have. And if you've got some bananas that you're not going to eat or get through in the time before they go from nice and unmarked yellow to completely black, then this is quick to make, and you can then keep it in the fridge. I think it'd be nice as well with some sort of, either when you serve it or even when you make it, once it's cooled, you could stir some grated dark chocolate through it or something like that. Kind of thing you can make up your own version, is what I'm saying. Be good with yogurt, wouldn't it? Plain yogurt as well, sort of layered a bit in a nice glass. Okay, let's get on with it. So the ingredients are simple. So you need 3 to 4 bananas. I've got 3 biggish bananas here, so that's what I'm going to use. You need a lime, some sugars, some cinnamon, vanilla, some rum, and some water. And it's got the nickname, the Drunken Monkey, and you can sort of see why. So you start off by putting the bananas into a bowl and sprinkling them with lime juice. So I'm just going to slice them up into my bowl. For once, these are nice and sort of perfectly right without being one extreme or the other. So annoying, like so much of our fruit and veg these days. You look at it 1 minute, it's fine, but an hour later, it's disintegrated. I must just tell you, I heard an email tonight from one of the suppliers, the soapery that I use for the holistic products, the different butters and oils and things. And he said, heads up, that cocoa butter, because of the failure of the cocoa harvest, is going up 5 times its usual price. So if you want to get some to make some things, best to get on with it, because the prices are rising rapidly. And like, he's still got some stock at the moment at the old price, and I guess that goes for other people as well, but it won't last very long. So I thought I'd pass that on, as we've this year started doing those sort of things. So check what you have. So I'm going to squeeze my lime. It doesn't require the zest. I think that'd be sort of a bit too powerful. It would overpower everything else. So sadly, no zest this time, but just sprinkle the lime juice over the bananas. Right, that's that. And while we've got a couple of minutes, I'm just going to a recap for some of you, new for the others. I've got a jar here with some water in. I'm just going to cut the peel up with scissors into the water and leave it to soak for 2 or 3 days. And then that makes a brilliant fertilizing drink for your plants, either plants in the greenhouse or house plants. It doesn't matter which. And I have to say, my Christmas cactus, which is upstairs in the winter on the landing and out on the table outside in the summer, I watered it with the version of this that I did in the winter season, and it absolutely enlivened it and made it all glossy and really did it some good. So I'm making it madly now with banana skins ready for the tomatoes when they eventually get planted in the greenhouse. They're so late this year. But anyway, so you just cut up the skins into water, or leave a sticker on it, it's not going to do any harm, and leave it to soak for 2 or 3 days and strain it, and then you can keep it and use it to water anything, basically. Provides potassium and all that kind of thing, all those good things. I'll top it up and put a lid on afterwards. Waste not, want not, and all that jazz. Right, so now we put the water from the recipe, which is 170 ml. Unusual to have water in a preserve, and usually we're trying to get rid of water, but it does cook out a bit, and it also helps the bananas to be sort of less dense. So we put the water in the pan, and I'm going to turn the heat on, not too high. And then we need to add the sugars from the recipe and get them dissolved in the water. So, there they are. So the 2 sugars are 90 grams of soft brown sugar. You don't want the really, really dark muscovado one. It's that would be, too, I don't know, it wouldn't be as nice to use in all the sort of delicate sort of baked things I was discussing. It would be a bit of a dark mass. So 90 grams of soft brown. Oops, bit too much. And 100 grams of granulated, white granulated. Oh, this is so heavy. Be very careful opening these clip top jars. I did one the other day and I flicked it up, and the bit that goes over the catch there came back and hit my fingernail, and it was so painful. I was just flopping about, I couldn't, it was like I've been shot. It was just awful. So they go into the pan, and then we're going to stir it to dissolve them. Pan is switched on for those of you nervously watching, thinking I've forgotten to do it. Even that soft brown sugar's got some darker lumps in it. those dissolved. This is a classic case of dissolving sugar where you can hear it and feel it, you know, and you have to stir it until it's a sort of smooth syrup. I've just been writing a blog over the weekend and today on when things go wrong. Frighten myself. Oh goodness, you know, the potential for disaster is great. But actually, it was quite a useful reference to have, you know, because things do go wrong and you do need to know what to do about them. So that's now published under the school. So you can go and find that if you want to. Good one to print out and sort of keep in your recipe folder. And this was one of the things about dissolving the sugar thoroughly so that you don't end up with any sugar crystals or that kind of thing. I actually wrote what I say all the time, which is stir until you can't hear it and you can't feel it. And I thought, how many times have I said that in my life to people? It's one of the very basic requirements. It's nearly there. Let's check when we put the cinnamon in. That goes in with the bananas. Right. I looked in the cupboard and I couldn't find any ground cinnamon. I remembered that I'd used it all up because it was actually getting really, really old. It still smelled really pungent, but I juiced it up and I thought, oh, so I've had to make some ground cinnamon in my little spice grinder from a cinnamon stick, and that was just, you know, a throwback to the spice class, you know, when we were talking about making them. So so that's dissolved. Pretty much. So the bananas can now go in. So in that with the lime juice. And that will just give it an edge, the lime juice. And a teaspoon of cinnamon. 1 teaspoon. Ground specifically. And vanilla, 1 teaspoon. I've got my tiny little bottle here, which I'm going to use up, which was filled up a while ago from this big bottle, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So I'm just going to put a teaspoon in. I mean, normally I wouldn't bother measuring this. I'd just put a bit more in. I love the taste of vanilla. So I'm going to get really nervous of these clips now. And give it a stir around, and we're going to cook that and turn the heat up a bit now. The sugar's dissolved. I'm going to cook it till it's soft. It takes about 20-30 minutes. I'll go back to it and stir it occasionally. So what I want to do is, first off, I'm going to strain this rhubarb gin and bottle that because it's been there 2 or 3 weeks now. It's not very pleasing colour because my rhubarb was quite green looking, wasn't very pink. So it's a bit of a sort of amber colour. And the rhubarb looks very sorry for itself now. So I'm going to pour it. I'm only going to pour it through a sieve. I don't think it's necessary for me to put it through, you know, coffee filter and all that business. I'll see how clear it is once I've done it. And there's lots of bits at the bottom. So maybe I should do that. There we are. No, it looks reasonably clear. So there's not much use, I don't think, for this spent rhubarb, even though it's soaked in gin. I don't fancy sort of cooking it up into a crumble or anything. So I think I'm going to put that straight into the waste bin. That will enliven the compost somewhat, and the worms will be having a party. So that's that bit done. And then I've got some bottles here. Let me turn this down. It's heated up now. A couple of 250 ml bottles, which might not be quite enough, but anyway. And I'm just going to pour that in. There's a bit left there. I'll find another little bottle in a bit to put that in. Seal them up and label them. I'm the world's worst labeler. I've spent so many late nights labeling for shows and things. And it comes to my own stuff, I can't be bothered. And we were stood here the other night with a bottle of what we hoped was cordial, but didn't know if it was alcoholic or not, trying to decide whether Trev should have a tumbler for or dilute it, and we couldn't work it out. But it turned out to be the cordial I made from the blood orange paste juice, so it was all fine. But so there's the well, there's 2 full bottles, and there's a bit in there that I can find a home for in due course, which is good. But I will find some labels and put onto it. See, these are softening now. Smells really fudgy, you know, like when you cook fudge from the sugars, I suppose, and that's the flavour as well. That's why I like it so much, because it's sort of a unusual. You know, it's not like having. No, I said about putting it on meringue or something. It's not like putting a lot of raspberry jam on it. You know, it's sort of different texture and flavour to that kind of thing. Just 30 minutes. Yeah, because as you cook it, it will reduce a bit. The liquid will reduce down and it will get thicker. So I've got no more to do to that. So I was just going to go through, I used the vanilla, and I know some of you have seen the various things with vanilla over the time, but I just wanted to do a little recap. And I don't know how many of you read Simply Preserved magazine. I've never set a test, but not the spring, because that's on there now. I'm not sure. I think it is the spring version. Has got an article on vanilla in there, and it was when I was researching it. It's quite fascinating, and this costs a fortune, doesn't it? Vanilla. These are the vanilla pods in here, and they cost a lot of money, but they smell amazing. You can use them over and over and over again until they're spent. You can slit them down the center with a sharp point of a sharp knife and put the seeds into things like ice cream, and so many uses. And I love the flavor of vanilla, real vanilla. I don't like artificial vanilla flavoring type. I particularly can't bear the smell of it in sort of bath products. I think it smells really artificial. But the real vanilla and the vanilla pods and is fantastic. And I've said before, the easiest thing I've never done for my whole life until recently is to make vanilla sugar. I must top this up. This is caster sugar, and it's just got 2 vanilla pods in it, in the jar. You fill it up with sugar, and then you can use it in cakes or anything. But we put it in our coffee. We grind beans over the weekend. We'll bother to grind the beans and make the coffee just in an ordinary cafetiere, and we put some vanilla sugar in it, and it really enhances the flavor of the coffee. It's quite staggering the difference it makes. So I've always got it now. As I said, I haven't done it my whole life until about 3 years ago. And I wouldn't be without it now. So that's a really simple thing. Just put it depends on the size of your jar, but you can put 2 or 3 pods in, and you can just keep on filling it up. You don't have to put new pods until such time as you think, oh, these have been in here 10 years, I better change them. Excuse me. So that's the vanilla sugar there. Keep an eye on this. I don't want it to catch or stick to the pan or anything. Now you can see from the pods, they actually grow on the plant like that. And the flower is up here, and this is sort of like a runner bean, really. And the flowers are up here, and they're massive vines. And you think, well, when they spread all over the countryside and the hedgerows and typically they come from sort of tropical countries like Madagascar and places like that. Why are they so expensive? So you've got this beautiful sort of orchid-like vine, which the vines can be huge length, each plant, with the most glorious sort of waxy flowers on them. And they have the flowers are male and female together, so they should be able to self-pollinate. But in actual fact, it's a bit like a Victorian bedroom. There's male flower parts on one side, female on the other, with a sort of division down the middle. So they never do. There's one bee. I'll check its name. I've got the article here that I wrote. Get the name of the bee. Where is it? It's called the orchid bee, as you would expect. So, but the orchid bee isn't, necessarily that efficient. So to maximize the crop, all of the flowers are hand pollinated by farmers and probably their children and their wives. And they literally dust the pollen, onto the different parts of the flower to get the pods to grow. And then these vines hang down with all these massive, looking like, just like, not runner beans, but the French beans that grow in that way, all thick and fleshy, and those are the vanilla pods. So you can see why they're so expensive when you've got miles of vines and you've got to go around, and goodness knows how you know which ones you've done. But that's the process. So we've got the pods, we've made our sugar, and then this is vanilla powder. So this is the pods, and I haven't done this in the spice grinder. I bought this ready done. And these are the pods all ground up into this fine powder, which again, you can use in cakes and biscuits and anywhere that you want a vanilla flavoring that it goes with the color of whatever you're making. And it's, again, smells incredible and very, very useful. And then we've got our vanilla that we make, don't we? We all do this, yes. You want to get the biggest, cheapest bottle of vodka that you can find. This is probably 10 years old now. The bottle, I mean, not the contents. And you take the cap off, and in a litre bottle, you would put 9 vanilla pods. So you will put them in there earlier, as early in the year as you can. If you're thinking about putting this vanilla extract into small bottles like this to go into hampers, you need to start now. So you put the pods in, the vodka, the color comes out over time, and then you can use it anywhere that vanilla is called for. And then you can just buy more vodka and top up the bottle when it's that you don't have to keep using new vanilla pods in the same way as the sugar. I got the vanilla powder from Buy Whole Foods online, I think. That's where I would have got it. Have a look on there, Brenda. But you can, you can Google it. But I don't really ever buy. I only ever buy from them really, unless it's something really strange. But see, this is becoming now quite thick. I'm going to batch it a bit more. And the other thing you can get now for vanilla is vanilla paste, which again is the pods ground down with a little bit of oil added, I believe. We're going to be making that in the Christmas season. So we can be, you can be saving up your little tiny pots to put it in, and it's incredibly expensive to buy, but we're going to make it, so that's fine. I'm just checking these details on. Yeah, room scents and diffusers and things like that. I just don't like the smell of it, kind of like that. But in food, I think it's one of the most delicious and purest sort of flavors, really. So just want to cut this down till it's a little bit thicker. For cooked bananas, it's smelling pretty good. I'm not a fan of, kind of barbecuing them and that kind of thing well, I used to have to do it for my children, where you slit them along, put chocolate buttons in and wrap them up in foil, but it doesn't float my boat, I'm afraid. I'd rather eat it fresh. But have hasn't got that cooked banana smell. It just smells lovely and fudgy. Right, let's move everything out of the way. So put these to one side so you can see. Right. Don't know where they came from, so I'll leave them there. Might got my rum. I'll take that off. And you can see it there, it's not a bad colour. Right, let's get my jars. I've got the Polina jars here, the little round ones we've got. Unbelievably, they are a 200-gram jar, nearly an 8-ounce jar, and they look like a 4-ounce, don't they? But they're so pretty, and so I'm going to use those instead of just any old jar lying around, like I usually do. Now, where did I put my funnel? It's there, and my little. It also almost smells buttery, this. It's quite strange. I put 2 jars on the recipe, but I think it's probably going to make a little bit more than that. You don't want to make a huge amount unless you've got a big party you're doing for, because you don't want to sort of make it keep too long. You want to make it little and often if you're going to use it. So, and of course, it depends on the size of your bananas, really, which is not something I say very often, but see if I can make sure that's filled right to the top. I'll give that a bit of a poke round in a minute, get the air bubbles out of it. It's 2 jars. Right, let's use my debubbler as before. And you can see here, these are the sorts of things you've got to be careful of. You don't want to leave these big air bubbles in there. You need to get something in there. You can use a chopstick or a skewer, a dinner knife, or a pressure canner debubbler, which or whatever you've got that will just literally burst the bubble and release the air from it. And sometimes there's so much, not necessarily in this, but in some preserves, there's so many, you can top the jar up again. It's surprising. And even if you can't see air bubbles, it's as well to sort of go down into the center of the jar as well, just in case there's some lurking halfway. Try and take that off. Now I need to wipe the edge of the jar. Tracy, I didn't put it in, did I? Oh, goodness. Okay, right. Good spot. I just was waiting to see if you noticed. What I'm going to do, there isn't enough for another jar, so I'm just going to put some out in a little dish so that I can have it on my toast maybe in the morning. And I'll put the rum in the top. You should put a tablespoonful in the base of the jar, nearly fill the jar, then put another tablespoonful in at the top, and then it infuses all the way through. That's what you should do. But somebody moved it. Oh dear. So I'm just going to pour some in the top like that. And the reason you do it, you don't put it into the preserve because it evaporates quite quickly in that big pan. So whether you're adding this to a marmalade or whatever, you can put it in the bottom and then pour the hot preserve onto it. So I'm just going to poke this. You know, I was writing that article about when things go wrong. Oh dear, oh dear. Right. That'll go down, it will seep down in there over time. It hasn't got quite as much in as it would have if I put it in the bottom as well, but you get the gist. Right. That'll be okay. Let's wipe that because I've managed to splodge it around the top. And there. And then put your lids on straight away. Excellent. It seems extraordinary that that whole pan, you know, there's quite a lot in that pan and it's gone into those two jars. More questions? Yeah, you knew I was testing you. That's, yeah, it was from there then. That's good. Yeah, I thought it probably was the vanilla powder because I say I don't really look anywhere else these days. There's never time to sort of go surfing the net too much, not like I used to, but looking for things. So just let it cool, you know, go cold, and then you can store it in the fridge, you know, for, I think it's good 2 or 3 weeks, isn't it? I don't know if I put it on there, but it will keep in the fridge like lemon curd does, you know, and then you can quickly make some more. And really, you know, children could help you make it because you aren't sort of pouring around great big vats of raspberry jam or something, you know, that is sort of a bit fraught with problems. So, you know, you can make it and probably leave the rum out if you're going to give it to children. That's probably what I was thinking. So, so that's a nice quick make there. I just want to mention the elderflower now for next week, hopefully. If we get some more sunshine, I think there'll be some flowers around. Now, if you download the recipe and have a look at it, it's a 2-day thing. You need to put the flowers to soak on before you need them, and then you make the cordial the next day. Now you can, if you want to do the recipe with me, I shall obviously have some done already so that I can carry on with it, but I'll also be doing it from scratch on the night and leaving that lot to soak for the following day, so that you see the whole process, hopefully. If it looks like they're not going to be ready for another week, then I'll swap round the holistic workshop with it if I can, and do it that way. But just try, if you're going to pick flowers, they don't want to be wet. They need to have kind of the morning dampness to have burnt off and for them to be dry. And you don't want to pick any sort of alongside a road and so on if you can help it, because they are not going to be washed. You can't really wash elderflowers. So we try and pick them somewhere nice and sort of countrified that isn't sort of too contaminated with any kind of smoke or fumes or anything like that. And then I think it's about 25 heads of flowers, and that's the whole head, I mean, not the little individual flowers or any part of that. You need to take some scissors with you and cut them off with just a small piece of stalk. We don't want too much stalk in there. And then you have to do it quite sort of on the day, really. So it might be as well to perhaps watch the workshop and then sort of relax over it rather than trying to get the flowers ready for the workshop. But if you do collect them, before you bring them indoors, give them a bit of a shake so that they haven't got any sort of unsuspecting wildlife that was harbouring amongst the flowers to bring them indoors, to process them. But I hope we'll be lucky, and this year we'll actually get to make it. So not such a long workshop tonight because the recipe is really quick. But I'll see you next time, hopefully for elderflower cordial.